Because it's a regulator, it has a mandate to exercise things. But citizens, it makes a lot of mistakes. But again, citizens ought to have some confidence, support them, and help strengthen them in doing the work they must do. Our system is different. And I think because we have a situation where two parties are almost equal, and it takes very little votes, the margin, to determine the president. We are interested in every aspect of it. In the process, we probably have taken the space that the institution must have, okay, as the mandated institution with rules, regulations, and various other administrative procedures to determine things. We are not allowing it. So the mistrust in the electoral committee is too high. And if we are not careful, no matter what we do, it will not be enough. And they are human beings like us. We are either breaking their confidence or we are making them extremely nervous. You see what I mean? So let us also begin to ask ourselves, how can we also show that and respect their mandate and also give them the space and support them to do the right thing? I think we should do the balance. Where are they strong? Where are they good? Where are they bad? Sometimes the balance is not there and it affects them as human beings, you know. So let us see how we balance. But you go to other countries, it's not that. I was South Africa because they have ANC. Huge party, nobody knows when they would ever go out. So maybe people are more relaxed compared to our situation where the margin that determines the winner is extremely small, and then it puts the institution under stress. Having said that, I think it's important that we wage the campaign for greater efficiency and for a more responsive administration of the elections. But at the same time, let us do that knowing that it is an independent entity and sometimes these decisions might not please us. But we ought to respect and go with it so they can do their work. That's my first point. My second point, really, is that you have, and this is to make it easier because this is the workshop for us. Kumasi was a meeting to deal with electoral violence, impunity, and injustice. So ask yourself, after Kumasi, did we have those elements on the scale we feared? We didn't. The major opposition party went to court. In fact, they discouraged their members from demonstrating at the spot around Kwame Nkrumah Circle, or Bradford. Yes, you know, the chairman of MPP said, no, you guys go home. If you do anything wrong, you go to the police. So by and large, they committed to that. And we said to them, if you disagree, go to court. Don't call your people on the street. And they did that. So look at it broadly. But remember also that the Chief Justice was there. The Chief of Defense Staff was there. The IGP was there. The former President was there. The President of the National House of Chiefs. So what it tells you is that managing the risks of violence has become something that calls for a whole set of actors to do. And in that case, they responded. They showed national leadership, and that took us out. We do not think we can repeat these things after every election, but every election, especially presidential, parliamentary, has its own peculiar needs. And you find out that maybe Kumasi came when it did. Whether Kumasi will be effective in 2016, if we don't deal with the problems, we don't know. But we have to keep working such that elections would lose its dramatic moments. You know, our presidential and parliamentary elections have this drama about it. We are all very passionate about it. Our turnout is amongst the highest on the continent and even in the world. Consistently over the 24 years or the 7 elections we've had, the turnout is extremely impressive. National elections, although it's declining for local government elections, the assembly elections. So there is a certain passion around it, which is important. But the best elections with integrity is the one where the threat of violence, the language, the war drum, the beating of is it boardrooms, the moderator referred to, are almost non-existent. Look at the American elections that have just been held. It's hotly contested, but we didn't see the kind of, we call them foot soldiers, the military language, the mobilization, and we will not really give the institutions the space to do their work. The macho men are there, but there's such vigilance and everybody is being threatened. I think that is not the game of football, where the rules are clear. FIFA has such authority to make decisions. The referee, the lights, and the make. I think we need to see how we clean up the system so that it becomes well-organized civic or civil activity. We're losing it. It's becoming like war. And if you can go back and look at the TV, the videos, the reportage, you will see how our elections had special forces, machine guns, soldiers in battle dresses, police with weapons we never saw, all around. What kind of democracy? And we say, hey, it's democracy and we are peaceful. Let's not see the police the way we saw them. Let us not see the soldiers around the polling station. Let us be peaceful queuing. I was in Kenya and they were so patient in the queue and never challenged anything. They went through it systematically, but every election has its challenges and problems. So how to make 2016 more civil, more peaceful? The game that we enjoy, even if we're passionate, but make sure the right things are done, are part of the challenges we are facing that we want to address. So that 2016 will be different from 2012 and probably 2008. So these are the challenges. How can we ensure the integrity of 2016 lies in it being somewhat or significantly different in donation, okay, in conduct, in the risk it rates and temperament and all that. Can we bring that about? Because a third volatile election is not good for our country. Okay, it will damage us seriously. Burkina Faso situations we are seeing where leaders have tried to undermine their constitution and then people get angry. We saw it in Niger, now we're seeing it in Burkina Faso. Fortunately, we don't have that problem. Our leaders, the late President Bell, decided the constitution should be reviewed, and it's been going on, we've all been involved. So we have strengths in our system. We want democracy to work. But at the same time, where there are weaknesses, we also have the space to discuss them and find the solutions. So let us not put ourselves in a situation where, we think we can resolve our problems through violence. And then after the violence and whatever it leads to, that is when AU and ECOWAS chair and others will be visiting. That the damage has already been done. For us, we can't afford that risk. We should refrain from anything that undermines the peace and stability of our system, because it's been the most enduring multi-party system we've had since independence, 52 years continuously. So there must be something right about it, but there are also very serious challenges, which we fail to solve effectively, and currently appears to be threatening the stability of the system. People are losing confidence. They are asking, can this system solve our problems? Because internationally, our system is highly praised by everybody. Ghana on democracy in Africa. And then they say, oh, economic development, we're also high. Among the 6 so-called African emerging economies or tigers, we're there. But there's a discrepancy about how international is not a good indicator. And the question is, what do we do to eradicate this? Because we had it in 2008, 2012. Should we have it in 2016? Do you think it's a good thing to have in 2016? Hey, I'm asking you. No. No. So what do we do? That is the question we want to answer. Because, and what role will electoral reforms play in eradicating the threat of violence? Is it just integrity, which means that we should be at the polling station and say that all the results will be determined at the polling station? But it's a system, and there are processes according to law, that must also work, and so on. So what are we going to do? Okay, this is one of the problems that we should deal with. Now, do you also realize that people are very concerned that law enforcement and the rule of law institutions appear not to be working the way they should? The institutions of states. And you hear a lot of talk about corruption, and there's no anti-corruption, is not strong, and all that, and so on. And that is bothering us a lot, because we know the effect of corruption on our development, our resources, the deprivation, the poor services, the frustration we feel, and so on and so forth. And that itself could lead to conflict, and so on. That's an important indication of a problem. So why does it persist? Then you have the one that looks at, we always talk about political stability, but there's also macroeconomic stability, the economy, and how it enables us money such that our income could take us very far, because inflation is low, because our reserves are strong, our foreign exchange reserves, because we are not overspent, we haven't borrowed and spent the money in a certain way, or we can see the investment and the transformation, the improvement in our welfare. So economic management, if you look at after every election, there's a problem. Either there is we have to pay more taxes, or prices go up, VAT goes up, and so on. It's not one government. It's been like that since 1992. Every 5th year, we have this problem. And it's recurring. So we have to ask ourselves, what do we do? We know it's not good for us. So what do we do? Should we say it's part of democracy? It is not true, because there are also democratic systems that have solved this problem and are doing well in solving, growing the economy, creating jobs, and so on. Although globally, creation of jobs is very difficult. Now, the last one is what we think, we are divided. We are too divided. Now we see things only in partisan. It's either NPP or NDC, and polarization. These are common terms people use. Now, these are indicators of the problem. So what is the problem then that needs to be solved? Usually, you see, if you go to hospital, your symptoms do not automatically establish the kind of ailment you have unless you have been examined by the doctor, okay, and diagnosed. So now we are told that many of the symptoms that looks like fever would have something to do with Ebola, depending on the circumstances you got it. So let us look at the problems. Now, when you take the threat of violence, some people are saying that our system is becoming more, elections and the whole system, the aggressive nature of it, because we have a rule called winner takes all. And after elections, the way the parties behave, okay, they create insecurity for many people. It's like elections is a do or die affair, and you are out. If you lose, your party loses, then you are out. And all this contributes to people feeling economically they get worse off, and their survival and so on. So we have to look at that system and so on. It contributes, that is true. But we think that the more fundamental problem, because we are looking at how to strengthen our democracy, is not the winner takes all. The more fundamental problem has to do with political power, and how that political power has changed in the last 22 years between MPP and NDC, and how the design of our multi-party system, okay, has not adequately taken into account this new development. And you can see it vividly. Whether you are in opposition or in government, as a government party, you have aspiration to participate in decision making. The decisions that affect you, economic, social. And Chapter 6 of the Constitution, as editors you should read that, says we have the right to participate in decision making at all levels, at all times. But the way we have designed the government sphere, the executive sphere, it does not allow participation by sections that are not seen to belong to a ruling party. Okay, now, This is a problem that will occur everywhere. But how it's been solved in various places is that to promote participation on democratic principles, you compete, you win, and so on, they open local governments, okay, to competition by the parties, whether it is a mayor or the assembly. So that at the end of elections, you find out that, yes, there will be a president, central government, but also you find that some parties are governing at local levels and so on, and the assemblies. And there is also in the executive sphere, there is participation. That's what you call inclusiveness. They find ways of collaborating, the laws favor them, and so on and so forth. So you get devolution, you have resources, you can pursue your policies, and all these are coordinated in a certain way. Our system does not allow that. You can only go to parliament. So our democracy is confined to parliament, but not executive governance. Okay, so we have executive government, not executive governance, because other passengers are excluded. Not only parties, even our chiefs. Okay, so we need to see how this equality in the power of the NPP and NDC we can also manage, because underneath that is a democratic aspiration. Not just to come to power and take money or actually say, oh, they all want to look of you, that's why they want to come to power. But there's also a democratic aspiration we should address. How do they participate in the 4 years after elections when decisions are being made to affect them? You are the opposition, you can make the noise, we won't listen, or we'll hear you, but as the majority will do what we would like to do. It's not the best of democratic principles. Do that in parliament, but also open executive government to their involvement. And we think because of that problem, that is why we are beginning to see the threat of violence. People are driven. Look at how they mobilize. It's over the presidency, not parliament. So executive power, we need to look at how we will open this up, whether it's presidential or parliamentary, it works that way. So that after elections, these things, people will feel, oh, if I don't win the central government, the local government area, our parties control 2 or 3 districts, and we can also be part of governing. And they'll be talking to the president and parliamentarians in solving national problems. So this is extremely important that we create democratic space to help us manage power.